I'm just gonna. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our last class about registering your business. So tonight we have back Tadha Athone, and she's going to be talking about how to register your business in Nevada. So we already talked about how to register your business in Utah. We already talked about how to register your business in Arizona. That's all recorded. It's on our website. You can go there and listen to the recordings of how to register your business in Utah or Arizona. But today we're going to talk about how to register your business in Nevada. So I'm going to turn it over to Tadha. She can introduce herself and then we can get going on those steps to register your business in Nevada.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cerila. Thanks for having me. It's Tadha Athone, and I'm really excited to be here with you. And I am an attorney by trade, but a businesswoman owner by heart and an entrepreneur. I started my business here at my kitchen table. As you can see, I've got 2 young ones in the background. And so I understand the need to have some flexibility within owning a business. And come with that in the knowledge that I share from having owned a business now for about 5 years, and how you go about creating one. So Anna, since you get to be sort of the person here, we're going to walk through Nevada, but if you want, we can sort of walk through your business idea and putting the information in if you can see our screen. Otherwise, I'm going to be sharing my screen and sort of walking through the creation of a business in Nevada. Anna, do you want to volunteer to do your business, or do you?
Yes. I'm sorry. I was just Nelly called me back. She's trying to log in right now, so that's why I was taking the call. Yeah, she's
We can wait. Can you pause the recording, Cerila?
Yes, I can.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining again. And Anna, I just gotten done asking you whether or not you might want to volunteer to sort of offer information and filing through the business information. Otherwise, Nelly, we are also going through, and you can volunteer as well. Instead, we're going to walk through the steps of what it would look like to file an LLC in the state of Nevada. So
okay, sure, that's fine. What do I need to do? You tell me.
Okay, I'm going to ask you questions at some point.
Okay.
So when we're there, I'm going to ask you, and we will get there in just a second. But I am going to start those at the beginning so that you understand all the steps, because if you go to like DuckDuckGo or Google, whatever you use as a search browser, what you're going to want to do is put in for the state of Nevada is the Nevada Secretary of State. Now, the other in Utah, we did Nevada, or we did the Secretary of State, but in Arizona, we do the Arizona Corporation Commission. So it's a different site. I went here earlier to set up an account to make sure, everything was filing through, but in DuckDuckGo, pulled it right up at the top. But I also just want to point out for you ladies that there are other places that if you've gone maybe through a different search browser, you might pull up something like this sort of website that thinks it looks like the Nevada Secretary of State. And these types of websites are going to try to charge you additional fees. So they're sort of putting together the work and filing it on your behalf. And you don't really want to do that. So you want to make sure that you end up at this secretaryofstate.gov website. So make sure it has a .gov at the end. That way, it's a legitimate government website, hopefully. And also, be sure to check through that it's not something trying to just look like it's something else. So be aware of that, because that will happen to a lot of people where they end up paying a service to essentially do something you can do for yourself. So this is the Nevada Secretary of State website. As you see, it's got that .gov going on there on the bar. And here it's got all this great information, right? Who is the current Secretary of State, Barbara. I'm not even going to try to butcher that last name. And then along the top, it's got a lot of other information. So you're probably not looking for this SOS information, probably not here to talk about elections, but we are here to talk about businesses. And depending on what type of businesses, you might be looking at licensing, but for right now, we're just going to focus on businesses. So we're going to click into this tab up here, and then over here on the left, there are the state businesses, license law, start a business, manage your business, close a business. And I just kind of want to draw your attention over here where it says UCCs. Those generally will have to do with contracts. Just so you know, if you don't fill in a bunch of contract terms, the UCCs will kick in and fill in any sort of gaps in your contracts with state law. So it's always good to be familiar with what your UCC has and what you can change within your own contracts. So we're going to come over here under state by business license only. We're going to focus on that today. You could hit start a business, and actually we're going to go there just in case you decide to go there, and start a business. Type of business, we are going to today focus on LLCs because I understand that many of you are looking at doing LLCs. So we're going to click here. But as you see, there are those other entities. We talked about partnerships. This obtain a state business license for a non-qualified foreign corporation or a non-Nevada entity to do business, so a foreign LLC. If you have a business started in Arizona and you want to come do business in the state of Nevada, then you would click on this, not going in to start a new business in Nevada. Just like if you start a business in Nevada and you want to start doing business in the state of Arizona or in the Navajo Nation, you're going to go and register that entity in each of those jurisdictions as a foreign corporation. So then you become a foreign entity to that jurisdiction. You would still be maintaining all of your information, your headquarters, documents, records in the state of Nevada, or vice versa, wherever you were headquartered at. But then you can go and operate other businesses, or maybe you contract to do other work in those states. And that's how you register then doing business there. But we're going to start a business today. So we're going to start a Nevada business, not a nonprofit. And we're assuming we're not doing a domestic business trust or domestic closed corporation, which is essentially almost like that S corp that I was saying you would get taxed at. We're not doing any of those. But this is not an LLC getting taxed as a, by the way, an LLC getting taxed as an S corp. This is actually more like an S corp designation, but a corporation. So you file all the corporation paperwork and still elect by the IRS to get taxed as that S corp. And we're not doing limited partnerships. Here we are, domestic limited liability companies. So we are going here and clicking that. And as you can see, there are a bunch of different ways that you can do business. Oh, and those professional, hold on, let me go back. Just so we get through this, just so you see this. There was that start of Nevada business. Oh, what just happened? Sorry. The domestic professional LLC, that's where you would have had that P LLC. And that's where if you're in the state of Nevada, and I don't know Nevada laws when it comes to what that looks like here, but it does have some more information. Oops. There, if you wanted to go and find out what that is, like what they're requiring as a professional entity, but that would be, for instance, for real estate agents, dentists, lawyers, doctors, that type of license professional in there, and your licensing agency will denote whether or not that needs to occur usually. Okay, so here we are coming back to limited liability companies. So on the other hand, it would have just had us drop down. If we just said get a business license, it would have allowed us to just start through most of this without asking us these questions. But we're going to go this way so that you understand the questions and don't get overwhelmed with it. And then I can educate you more about the process. So articles of organization, the LLC, list and state business license, common business registration. So we're going to start this. As I mentioned, took the time to come, oops. Okay, hold on. Yeah, I tried to come activate an account earlier so that I wouldn't take up your time today to do that. Activate my account, there we go. Okay, so we're gonna log in once you get registered. So when you first get here, you would see this sign. First time you're gonna register. I took the time to do that already. Okay, so when you come into Nevada and you've got your businesses going, your businesses are usually going to show up here and your dashboard. And since we don't have anything, we'll have to populate it first. But you're never really going to see that here because we won't make it all the way through the filing process, since we aren't actually, well, maybe we are. Maybe Manguia or Anna is going to file her business today, giving her information. She could go take it, but in order to get there, we'll just get started. Okay, please click here to continue and have not been added to your shopping carts. So wait. Here to get started. Okay, choose from an option below. We're going to do a business entity search, and I do not have a Nevada state business license. I want to register my business for the first time. So here we go. We're not an already formed business, so that might be if you had previously filed before. I think Cerila and I were discussing that she filed her business in what, 2018 or 2017, and you still had to file literally by showing up at the Secretary of State, which is our Arizona Corporation Commission here. And so in that sense, you would go, I'm sorry. This one is a little, you would have to show up and then you'd register. But since we don't have anything started, we're going to start here. We already said we're going to start a Nevada business. I don't know why it's throwing us in a loop here, but here we go again to a domestic limited liability company. Domestic meaning that it is registered, or it is entity started by the jurisdiction. Excuse me, just. Okay, and then we're going to start. Hopefully it's going to get us out of this loop that we're going in the system. Awesome. So we're not likely going to have some sort of, please don't take that, excuse me just a second before I get, apologize. Literally had a bag of ice and an ice mallet going through the house. It's like, oh, okay. So here we go. Anna, do you have a name already thought of for your business? Because we would put it here if we wanted to reserve the name, because perhaps you have a really, just amazing business name and you don't want anyone else to get it, but you're not ready to file the business. We would come here and just register or reserve the name. But I'm assuming you're not, doing some really trendy thing. I don't know, that needs this like name that you're trying to like copyright or something.
No, it's just very simple and balances for all.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
This is, so I'm assuming you're wanting capitalized. That's
Actually,
really
it's balances with an S and then the number 4. Number 4 all.
Is for
Balance.
That's really cute.
No, is balances for all. Yeah.
I like that, Anna.
Yeah. Thank you.
Now, do you want it to be, say, LLC, limited liability company? I'm assuming it might not kick us out here and say it, but we're gonna have to put some sort of designation if you're choosing
I
an
think
LLC.
LLC, I think should be fine.
It might be because of that LLC. Oh, sorry. So, where are you? Honey. In Arizona, it will just kick it through in the next, but same thing. So here, once you put in your business name, you're gonna hit search first, and then it's gonna kick it down here to search. It looks like your name's available, cute name. And as you can see, we could have done it limited liability company, L period, C period, however you want it to look. But we will go with this as it's organized here. A series limited liability company, or check if this is a restricted limited liability company. This section is not required. You're not going to do anything like this because we're not going to get in here. Really have no idea why they're asking this in this section. This would get much more into like whatever sort of registrations they're going for, but I would imagine they have to do with like gamings and securities laws and licensings and those rounds where you would get into different structures within your LLC, how you can have restricted memberships or preferred memberships, or you can have different series of memberships. So you can have different voting rights, and you can separate out. So for almost for like investment companies, if you have funds, you'd be able to separate out the ownership and the control via the different series of membership classes within your organization. Anna, when we were previously talking about your dreams of a company, you had mentioned that you were going to be doing this by yourself. So we are not going to check any of these boxes because I'm assuming you're not bringing in investors where you would have different classes of membership within your organization.
That is not in the plan right now.
Okay, so we're going to go on. Great.
So Todd, so we should leave that blank, right?
Should leave that blank. Yes. Please, unless you plan on doing something more complicated within your, essentially within your operating agreement and have different types of memberships within your LLC, then leave it blank. Because it is an optional question where they're discussing these series, because this, when you use an online form like this, remember Cerila, when you had that like form that you printed off from the website, I'm assuming, or you filled out, you could have picked up at the office and you filled out your information on the form. You were sort of using the state's standardized boilerplate forms. And it probably wouldn't have allowed you to have done something like that within the standardized form, and it actually wouldn't have allowed you to spell out different series and classes of membership within an LLC. And you would have had to have done that within your operating agreements and other documents to really spell that out. But it looks like here in Nevada, what they're doing is saying, hey, we can do that if you want to have different types of classes of membership, and we'll put it into the forms, because it does structure the form a little bit differently. And what you're saying are your voting rights and your control, maybe your profit shares, those types of things. So you could own, more of a company, but not necessarily be getting more of the profit, or getting a same amount of profit, or even a same amount of vote for the ownership in the company. So Jess, yeah, a lot of that to say, leave it blank. Okay. Individual name. So here we are at the registered agent page, the step 3 in the process. And the registered agent, you may have been hearing it called either that or statutory agent. This agent is that person who's going to receive notice for the organization. They're going to be the ones who receive mail from different people, but also if there are any sort of court cases, or if the Arizona or Nevada Secretary of State is trying to get a hold of anybody, it's going to come here and notify this person on behalf of the organization. So it appears here be an individual. So it could be you, or it could be an entity if you were going to hire a registered agent company. If you wanted to hire a registered agent company, or I guess another company operating as an agent. Some states require you to have a license to do that, to be that company. But in this sense, you would do that also to hide your information and keep that private. So whatever name and address you provide here is going to become public information. So it will be accessible to the public via the Secretary of State's website. So if you came in here and you searched a business, which we had done, and we can go in and do in a little bit to look up a business afterwards once we get through this process, you'll see where you can find this initial information about who the registered agent is, and generally where is the office or that headquarters located. But sometimes not even that. Sometimes all you get is a registered agent without paying for more. So, and I do have an idea of whether or not you would use an entity like a statutory agent. Again, that might be for privacy concerns, or if you're just going to operate as your own statutory agent, and that's also perfectly allowable.
So
Now,
Tadha, I'm sorry. So Tadha, for the statutory agent in Nevada, you can use yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
It'll
it would be under me. I don't plan to hire nobody.
Okay.
There's also a link that I put in there too, the rates for the statutory agent, like they have an approval list. So I put that in the chat just in case anybody, if they want to have someone else do it.
Cool. Thank you, Karen. That's awesome. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So, and I'm gonna fill in your name. Is this your legal name?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't have to fill out middle name.
Yes, it's Delia.
Do you sign with your middle name usually?
Just do an initial, a D.
Do you normally sign your name that way?
Not normally.
Okay, then we're not gonna put that D there. And the
Okay.
reason I say that is because at the end, and on other websites I've been on, it'll require that however you put this name in here is how it will ask you to sign the documents later. So if you're not used to putting that D there, then you might just go and put Anna, and how do you pronounce your last name?
Munguia.
Anna Munguia
Yeah.
there, but she might forget to type in this letter D, and then it's going to kick back the signature and go, nope, that wasn't accepted properly, or hey, that's not the right one. So just
Okay.
really want to make sure that however you normally sign your name is how you're putting it, and whatever your legal name is for signing, as opposed to like a shortened name. If maybe, I don't know, your name is, I can't think of a lot of women's names that we shorten, but maybe it's Samantha, and you put Sam, but you really should be putting Samantha. That's your legal name for like your driver's license.
Well, in my driver license, my legal name, I got my first name, middle name, and I'm Hispanic, so I have 2 last names.
Oh, okay. So see, Anna would want to put both last names in that sense, of her legal last name, not just, name you go by. So I'm not sure, is it hyphenated?
Yes,
Anna?
hyphenated.
Okay, and it may not accept the hyphen. We'll see.
Ramirez.
I feel like I should know how to spell that. Ramirez.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if it'll accept it. The hyphen. There are other websites that even if you have a hyphen in your name, some of the government websites won't accept hyphens, so you just have to leave them out, even if you have it here.
So the middle initial is in my license as well. So would I have to add it, or is that optional?
That's generally optional. Do you normally sign your name with it? Is what
No, I don't even sign with my second last name. I just sign Anna Munguia.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I don't know. but my
Yeah.
license has both of them, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
So you're gonna use this because I have seen, so for instance, I was just at the post office the other day, and this actually has occurred to me individually as a business owner, where I went to go pick up a certified letter and it was addressed to my company. And then the post office was like, well, how do we know that you're with this company? You have to provide us identification. This makes it more difficult. You should actually let your the senders know that in the future they should put your individual name at the top and then with the company's name, because now that they've put this company name, I have to have proof that you're like the person. So then I had to go and pull up other information such as this registered agent. I provided them a bunch of other things showing that like I was clearly, associated with this company. But that way, if you go and end up in a situation like that and someone's asking to see a proof of identification to align with the documents that you need to receive on behalf of the organization, you're going to have your driver's license, your passport, whatever it is that's there. That's a legal document to show you are you and you have the authority to receive mail, receive notice, whatever it is on behalf of that organization. So yeah, we're going to leave that whole thing. And then at the end, you remember to sign the way that it's spelled out. And that'll come in later as well in the incorporator. So however we put your name in as the registering person, it will request again the signature to match up. So no record available. Here we go back to the individual because oops.
Yeah. And Tadha, this is Cerila. I will also say, your taxes, because your taxes is gonna have the same name must match your social security number. So for someone who does taxes, taxes get rejected all the time because, some people go by the first last name and the IRS is like, nope, you don't exist until you put that second last name on there. And then it's like, oh yeah, we know who you are.
Yeah, and actually I had to deal with that with another business, a nonprofit we had filed where like literally when we typed in the name, the N in the name went in as a lowercase. And so every single time we had to type it in until we got on the phone with the IRS, who was able to literally just change that capitalization in order to pop it up and match within the systems. It's some of those systems can be very specific. And excuse me for just a second. Okay, so Anna, since you are going to be your own statutory agent, we're going to fill out your information because it's going to be public information from here on out. Oh.
Okay.
And so as it said, I clicked through a step. I apologize. It said create a registered agent after we said search, and it said there were no results. So you might be a registered agent for other businesses. Is there those entities where it might already have that company there as a registered agent? Instead, we created an agent right here. And now we're in this sort of pop-up box, the create registered agent. No, we just went through all of that, but I'm probably not going to get the spelling right. Is that correct? Oh,
No. Yeah.
okay. I was like, oh,
There.
my computer says it is. Okay.
Yeah.
And your address?
2710 Basswood Avenue. BASS, WOOD Avenue. And it's North Las Vegas.
Is there a city North Las Vegas?
Yes.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yep. North Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh.
Wait, where does the boundary of Las Vegas and North Las Vegas start? Like, or does it kind of like?
It's just a street.
You
You literally cross the light and you're in North Las Vegas or in Las Vegas.
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's, I mean, I can tell you it's Owens and it runs up to like Rancho. It's weird how they did it.
Okay. Would I think I was still in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Okay, good to know. Great. Well,
Well, in
okay.
some areas, no. Some areas you definitely would know you're in North Las Vegas.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you. Well, I just learned something. I appreciate it. Zip code.
89030.
Okay, Nevada. And I would imagine it would never allow you to use a registered agent outside of the state of Nevada. I think if you were to come in and like put this, it would kick it back. We're not going to try that for
Okay.
we're not going to try it for giggles, but the registered agent usually has to be within the jurisdiction. So if you are a business like in Nevada coming to try to do business in Arizona, that's when you also would hire like a business or a company generally, unless you happen to have family or someone who could accept your mail locally, because the state or jurisdiction tribal jurisdiction will want it to be a person within the boundaries of their state or within the boundaries of their reservation. And that's weird. Is it this? Northwest? We're gonna go with that. Northwest. Okay. Email, Anna.
Okay, it's Anna dot balances number 4 all at gmail.com. I know, Cerila, we got to change that later because that does not look professional.
You gotta get
Oh,
that domain, the balances for all, really. That's what you should do, is be getting that domain. And I mean that as like a business person, not as like a legal advice, more like, hey, that's a really cute name. And if you get the balancesforall.com, .net, all that stuff, and people won't get, but it'd be really cute. Just
Oh, you're right. I should do that.
Hey, Karen, you got a question?
I do. I have a comment. It's really good on this screen that Anna, that you have your generic email, because if you have your GoDaddy or anything else like that, if anything happens to that, you may lose your information. That's why I usually do generic on mine. On this, only on this part, but not on future communiques or communications with others.
Oh,
that's
okay.
smart. Yeah, like if you stop paying for your mail service or something, or
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
Mhm.
Good to know.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, I don't think we need that because it's right here. The registered agent, create the mailing address provided. Nope, we're using that. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, Karen. I actually had something like that happen. I needed to speak to Mabel about around my SAM registration and PTEC stuff, where exactly that I had used an email for an old law firm that I worked with. And now that law firm has wrapped up their business, and I'm wondering about how I go about changing that. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do we get that like switched over under that, all those registrations in that process. Interesting. Okay, so please select registered agent type. I thought we had selected that. That's interesting. Oh. We are non-commercial registered agent or represented entity. Ooh, non-commercial registered agent. That's what you are, because you are not a business operating for yourself. So you're not doing any sort of commercial activity here, selling registration, because you can literally just get paid for providing your information at an office to do this. It's totally a company, totally a thing you can get paid for, is like passive income if you live in a jurisdiction where there are a lot of businesses registered. Okay, so, but then if you were doing that, you would be registering, you'd be providing, another business owner, your information as an entity, as a company who's like doing that as a commercial activity. So here we are. We're going to select you now that you've been created. Here's your selected registered agent. Update. We're not doing anything there. Okay, it should allow us to just click. Yes. Okay. So next. And just so we know, So once we got through here, populated, it just, if you were going to come in and change something later on, you would come in here, but nothing's being changed because this is our first time in. So we hit next. Officer information. Now, this is the question that trips up a lot of people. It never seems to be explained clearly, and I'm going to do my best to try to explain it clearly. But if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. So when it asks you what sort of management structure, it's asking you whether or not you want to be a manager managed LLC or a member managed LLC. If you're a manager managed LLC, I'm going to try and say this without being tongue-tied. If you're a manager managed LLC, then you are essentially hiring another individual to act as an employee under your company as like an officer or a CEO would be, or whatever that is, an operating officer. And that person is getting paid to do the day-to-day affairs of your company. Now, if you are a member managed LLC, what you really are is the owners acting as the operators of the LLC. You, the owner, are doing the day-to-day activities. You, the owner, are the one filing the administrative paperwork, getting all that sort of administration and HR stuff done. And you are not hiring somebody else to do that. Now, you may hire someone beneath you who you may delegate some of those tasks to, but you, the member, are still the person who is sort of operating within the business and operating the business, not just owning a company and then hiring employees directly underneath it who are going to be doing all of this type of activity. If we were to select that manager manage, then it would want to know who the manager is, who this other person is, and likely this manager would have no ownership within the company. You might give them some sort of employee perk or something, or benefits, HR benefits or perks, but they wouldn't typically be an owner under the company. So you would have a separate line to put in to register them as almost like a delegated authority, that this person will be able to interact again with the Secretary of State, the other licensing departments on behalf of the organization, versus the member manage, where it's just us operators, owners acting as operators within that company. So I'm going to assume, as you had mentioned, Anna, that you will be a member managed LLC.
Yes, that was very confusing, but yes, I'm a member managed.
Yes. Do you have questions before? Because if it was confusing, I want to make it clear. It might be confusing for others, and it is, right, a tongue tie in itself to say, what's your management structure? Member managed or manager managed?
Well, now that you explained it, it makes sense. But if it was me doing it by myself, I would probably got stuck in here, because I would think it's manager managed, meaning, that, I'm going to be managing as the manager, but I'm glad you helped us and you made it clear that no, it's member managed.
There you are. You're a member now. So you are an owner of your company, but under an LLC. And thank you for saying that. Also that I hopefully explained it enough to make it clear to move forward in the question. But as an owner, unlike within a corporation where owners will be called stockholders or shareholders, in an LLC, you are called members of an LLC. And so you are an owner or a member in an LLC as well, to help clarify that title that you get to give yourself. So you wouldn't refer to yourself as a shareholder in an LLC or a stockholder. And in fact, I've had a few business people who have used terminology like that with me, and it has almost sent off red flags when they've told me something like, oh, well, I'm a shareholder in an LLC. And I go, either you haven't read your documents or you don't really understand what you're talking about, because you would never be a shareholder in an LLC. That's just not a title that goes with that business structure. And so, it made me wonder about their diligence, and what they were doing with their documents. Okay. Title, managing member. So you, when it comes down here and it's got these titles, managing member or other, it's going to probably put in other members, but you as the managing member are the person And see, it even again has an entity. So LLCs can be owned by other LLCs. LLCs can be owned by corporations, owned by nonprofits, owned by just different entities in general. And so that's why they would have this entity question. But the managing member is the member. So almost like the onus falls on one person, just like in the corporations, you have an officer and a board, and the officer, whatever key officer that is under that state, whether it's a CEO or a person without any title, has the responsibility to ensure then that the documents are getting filed, the annual filings are occurring, you know, the licenses are being renewed, all those types of things. So the managing member is, again, that person who not just who's the statutory agent who receives notice, but who's also taking responsibility within the organization as the owner of the organization or a owner of the organization. There has to be at least one person who is the managing member, because remember, we're member managed. Okay, so totally a tongue twister. So Anna, I'm gonna again assume this is you being the sole operator within your company.
That's correct. Munguia Hyphenated Ramirez.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay. And
2710 Basswood Avenue.
and then I wonder if it's gonna do that drop down thing again. Where it's like choose the city. Oh wait, it did it after the zip code. So
89030.
oh yeah,
There it is.
Okay, here we go. I just like having it spelled out. It just looks nice. Sometimes when I'm doing my legal work, I would spell all this out. I would have an avenue, not an
Oh.
abbreviated, you know, it just looks more formal. Okay, so see where it has add other officer. So this is probably where, you know, who knows, whatever, however that triggers. If you had other members, we would probably add other officers here. I think it's gonna make us add you first. And then if we wanted to add another member, this officer information, the LLCs, we would start adding whatever that title is, like the other officers. I don't know why they're using officers here. That's a weird and very confusing thing, but for this sense and purpose, if you had, I don't know, maybe two managers managing, like somebody else, maybe you had, in fact, I can explain exactly. I just saw a corporation doing this where they had two CEOs, not one CEO and not one COO, which you would expect because they were almost doing those types of different job descriptions, but they were co-directors. And so if you had another member acting as a manager, you'd want to put this here, I'm assuming in this process, or here you might be putting, they might be calling them members here, in which case you would be putting your other members if you had other owners within the company, and it looks like that's what they're really calling people. So say you had other owners in the company, we would put this here, this other officer, unless they were also a managing member doing day-to-day activities. So for instance, in my company, I have two silent partners. One of them is actually moving into more active work, but they would be others because they are not managing members under the company. They are just other investors within the company. And so I would then list out that name, put their information here, and add in additional officers as many members. In this case, Nevada's using the term officer. I find that to be a bit confusing because corporations generally refer to the officers and then the board members. And so officers may or may not within corporations be owners in the corporation, as may or may not board members. But typically those positions as officers are again the ones sort of doing the administrative leadership functions of the entity itself. But in other states, they're called members. So that can be confusing as you go from state to state as well. So no other officers. We're going to skip past this since we don't have to add another one, but if you needed to, it would be here. Okay, so now we're at the signature line. Look at how quick that was, right? At this point, you would declare that to the best of your knowledge, this was you, and I can't click this because it's you're not clicking it yourself. You got to click it. I can't click it for you. And then if you're the organizer, so you might have been forming this for somebody else. If I was your attorney, operated licensed to do law in Nevada, and had that engagement letter with you, I could totally click this right here and put my name and sign on behalf of you, but I don't have that authority. So you would then just click here because you're going to be the organizer. And yes, Karen.
Sorry about that. I was going to say, Tadha, would it be possible? Well, it's being recorded, but I don't know, is it possible for her to have control of your screen to do that, to finish it up or no?
I don't know how to give her control of my screen.
Oh, I can give her.
But Anna, you need to know it's this is all being recorded.
Yes,
Yeah,
just go back and
that's fine.
watch it as well. So once you got to here, you would literally just click, I declare this. This is your information, right? And then you would
Yes.
type your name here. So even though now it's calling you an organizer, you're just still the person filing this. You would click and type here, put in your information again and hit save, and it's gonna
Okay.
like kick in. And I hereby accept appointment. You're going to also then come down here and sign your name. In Arizona, it would literally click you an email, send you an email. So if whatever email you put in, it would then send over an email saying, do you accept this registered agent appointment? And then it requires you as that person to go into the Arizona online eCorp filing and accept that appointment. Here, it looks like it's just going to have you sign your name right here and hit save. And I'm wondering, okay, if we go into here in the supporting documentation, the required filings, the review, because I guess theoretically.
Yeah, Tadha, what is required or supporting documentation? What is that?
Yes, so here is where, for instance, if you wanted to upload your own articles of organization, so say you wanted to spell out those different ownerships within the officers, as they're calling them, but within the members, you would have that here. So you would upload your own document in the way that we also had that option in Arizona last week, where you would upload your own articles of organization, and it would literally be a typed out document that had all of this information in the typed out articles. So you'd have article one, what's the name of the company? Article 2, where's the office located? Article 3, what is the registered agent? Article 4 is where you might start to see some differentiation, where you'd say, oh, here are members, or in their term, officers. But officer, we have 4 officers, and 1 officer owns 70% of the company. I should have done that. 1 officer owns 60% of the company, and the other 3, did I know? Yeah, 1 officer owns 70 and the other 3 own like 10, right? And so you would spell that out, because if you were to not upload documents in this section right here, or have a separate documentation or regarding that, or where they had asked you about the reserves or restricted LLCs at the beginning, then for instance, it's going to default under the UCCs and under the guidelines to think that each LLC member, each member under here, this officer, pretty much owns 25%. So if there are 4 people, then it's broken up to 25%, and that'll default to 1 person, 1 vote. That type of situation So you would want to spell those things out generally when you have other business partners, and how you expect the control and ownership to be broken down within the business itself. And so that can go again to how I mentioned, for instance, in my business, I had investors. So these investors were my friends and family round of investment. And essentially it was people who I knew who believed in me, who were like literally closely related to me, and who provided my company money. And they took a little bit of ownership and equity stake within the company. But beyond like some, atta girls and a little bit of like advice when needed or direction when needed, they're really not involved in the company. And so they have a very small ownership stake within the company itself. And it doesn't default. We have it set up so that there are different ways that ownership or membership voting rights occur. So I own the majority of the company, but I am not making the majority of the decisions. I actually have a democracy set up. Right, yeah. So, well, it makes sense because we have 4 owners, and so I have more of a democracy where if we all agree, then we move forward with that move. But if 2 business partners, for instance, don't agree with a 3rd business partner, or maybe, there's a disagreement about which way to move forward, then my ability as a business owner to make a decision and to take the company in a direction kicks in. So I'm almost like the tiebreaker in a stalemate. And I've seen that happen where you'll have 2 business owners who each have 50% ownership of the company. And guess what happens when they can't agree on how to move forward? No one has a majority ownership. It's a stalemate. They can't move forward because they can't make a decision. It's very difficult. Now, nobody has the ability to override people. I've seen companies dissolve that way. I've seen companies not grow that way. And so you want to be able to have that ability in businesses with multiple owners to be able to in some sense, right, separate that control out and how that control kicks in. So at what point do you need to be able to move efficiently through a business and making decisions? But then again, you might have people who all come equally to a business. So maybe you've got four people who all are bringing different skill sets, who all have an equal capital match, that liquidity that needs to come into a company, because every company has to have money to start out. I mean, literally it costs money to make money. And so you've got to have some sort of capital at the beginning, even if it's just paying for that website, ordering those business cards, going to the conferences, or whatever it is that however you drive your sales for your business. It does take money to drive those and start those sales. Hiring a lawyer to go over what your operating agreements might need to say, if they're more complicated than just a basic, hey, we have 4 members, it's equal 4 ways, that type of language and default that these documents provide. So that's when you would want to provide that extra additional supporting documentation, is essentially when it starts becoming more complicated. It was a very long-winded answer. Did I answer the question?
Yes.
Okay. You're not going to need to provide, Anna, at this point, it sounds like, any more documentation based off what you had said. You don't have other people involved. You're defaulting to this one owner, one vote rule. You don't have anything to do. So once you got to this, you would not be here in the supporting documentation category. And then these required filings essentially are going to, I don't know, I frankly don't know what it's going to be. So now I'm really curious. I wonder if I can just operate as your organizer, because I can I be your organizer for a second, Anna?
Yes,
Operating as your agent.
sure.
Okay, so notice again, I'm just operating as an agent. You've given me verbal authority to put my information in. So that's all I'm doing, is saying, hey, I'm just filing this paperwork on behalf of of Anna.
We can go back to it, right? And just change it.
Hoping. I'm assuming it's not going to make us submit over here.
Yeah. Okay.
Review and done, so it should be fine. No. Oh, I bet it wants, wait a second, I was going to say, but it wants to say Guadalupe. Yep. Same thing. Can never tell where I am. Okay, and I'm name of the registered or an authorized signer. So you have not authorized me to sign here. And since we are
Yes.
not officially signing or submitting this into the system, we're gonna type your name with your permission. I have your permission to type your name right here.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So, are you? Yes, yes, she signed it. Could you hear her? She said yes.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I did say yes.
I was speaking to the computer, sorry.
Okay.
Just so no one thinks that I'm, filing documentations on anyone's behalf. Okay, so here we go, supporting documentation. Let's see where it would, here we go, is the upload, this little bar. So you're gonna come here where it says if you did have something more complicated, Anna, you would be uploading it on this little bar and it's going to find wherever that document it is. So you can actually see I've got other types of bylaws and stuff in here. So you would have, those types of documents there, and it would literally just be, you wouldn't be uploading your bylaws. So please never anyone upload your bylaws into any of the websites because they will kick them back as rejected. You would specifically want the title of that document to say the articles of organization and be articles of organization at the top of it, because otherwise they're going to say, nope, we don't read bylaws. You don't keep those on file. What we do is read articles of organization in those more complicated situations of ownership, control, and multiple members. So then we're going to click. We are not getting into, wonder what else it would allow us to do. Oh. Okay. If you were going to start that filing there on that, we don't want to do that. Assume it's going to say you're not required this.
This is step 7.
See, no, it kicked us into here. So in Arizona, if you're selling services, you don't have to have a business license, but it looks like you might need a license for different things here in Nevada, a separate business license. So think of this as like a money-making thing for the state, right? First, you have to register your business, but then you have to have a business license, and that might be a license that you display in your website. So registering your business is not necessarily the same as saying you have a license to do business. In the city of Tempe, actually, just to pull it to where Cerila and I, if you operate a massage clinic, so you could literally just be a massage therapist, you have to register to get a specific license. If you are operating hair parlors or the nail salons, you'll see that they have an operating license from the city of Tempe posted. So those are like business license that are a different thing than just registering the entity and creating that structure. So you would look like you need to get a business license under the state of Nevada, but we're going to click back and see, because it kicked us over here where I said if we start that filing, see how we started and it's like gets into this next system. Oops, doesn't want to go back. Let's see if we can get, no, I like keeps clicking us into that after state 6 because I changed the action over there. See that? I said we're going to start filing. So what it's saying is, hey, yeah, your filing fee may be $75, but we're going to charge you a business license fee. So in the state of Arizona, if you want to sell any sort of retail item, say you want to sell chips or you want to sell nail polish or clothes or whatever, construction materials, you have to register for a transaction privilege license. And that's literally paid annually. You have to file quarterly or monthly on what your sales are and then submit chat license. Like you have to file for this license, and it's like an $80 filing fee in the state of Arizona for that license to sell retail goods. And it looks as though they want you to have a license in Nevada.
So this is for, even if you want to sell the service, it's still sell.
It looks like here it might still be. So this is where businesses, it's always helpful to have a lawyer or a person who's very familiar with those jurisdictions, because for instance, in Navajo, I, as a lawyer, if I do lawyer work if I were to do lawyer work in the state of Arizona, I would not have to charge sales tax on my work. But when I move into Navajo and I start doing work, which is where I always do work, and essentially am over in that jurisdiction doing work, then I always have to charge sales tax onto it. But as a business, when I'm operating as a business owner, doing my other services, which I do as consulting and as architectural design stuff, we don't charge sales tax on any of our service work in the state of Arizona. But when we are in Navajo Nation, we do. And I don't have to have a sales tax license or a transaction privilege license, a TP or tax license, in order to do architectural design work. But I do have to have it if I want to sell construction materials to projects. So it all kind of kicks in, and that's where you'll start to see more fees built up, again, as like an economic generator for the state. So it looks like it's going to say, hey, if you want to register this business, you're also going to register to get a license to do business. You're not
So
just
it's automatically. I mean, you don't have to go somewhere else to apply for it. I just have to pay for it, basically.
pretty much. Yep. That's what it's doing, is it's saying, here, we're going to kick it over.
Wow.
I can't get it to pause once we're here. All I did was go into that action and it kicked up the license. And so had you been on the class the other day, and Cerila, you'll remember this, I think Karen, I don't think you were on that class, but on the Utah class, they had something called the one-stop shop. And that one-stop shop actually was doing all of that sort of registration with the other entities under the state. So the tax registration, they also asked about employees and whether or not you had employees. So if you expected to have employees that you were going to pay W-2s or pay on a W-2, specifically because you can't be paying employees as contractors on 1099s, the IRS will eventually start to take note of that if it's not necessarily an independent contractor, but rather employees that you're trying to get away with not having to pay that half of their Social Security, FICA, Medicare, that type of stuff. So that said, it looks like it's going to force you at this time to register for that license at the same time, in the same way that Nevada made it, or Utah made it really easy. You just registered for it all at once. Cerila and I saw how you had to sort of pay as you went through the process. At different points, you were like paying for the services that you were registering for, but it was just as I said, a one-stop shop for all that. Whereas in Arizona, if you were to do this, it would literally be you going to the Arizona Department of Revenue, and then you have to go set up a whole nother registration at the Arizona taxes website. It's just like multiple different registrations that you have to go through to different websites in Arizona. you, Anna, have it much easier. You're just gonna come in here and pay for the license, because as soon as I hit to change the action down here that it keeps, I wonder if it'll allow me to click, click, click. Oh, oops. Now let's see what happened. It's gonna say, I wonder if I can click back to get to that, changing that action pending. Oh, no. What happened? It took you.
Oh,
And they deleted our information. That's not nice. Oh man, that's not cool. So at least in Arizona, if it kicks you out, it has it like, let's see if it'll have it saved on that dashboard. You are just so, I was gonna say, you've got it so easy. Look, oh man.
it heard easy and it had to make it complicated.
Right, we were like
Yes.
going through, so we'll just go through it one more time real quick to see what happens. Actually, are you on your computer, Anna?
Yes, I am.
Do you want to go to the website and we can watch you go through the steps, because then you would have that control to sign on your side and finish through the process. If you want and are ready to register your business, we could walk through the process with you on your side.
Okay, are you guys able to see my screen though? Can you do that, Cerila? Can you see my screen?
I think she's making you the
You guys
or
kicked me out and I had to come back in. Sorry about that.
no worries.
Let's see. I need to give you.
It's gonna say either the sharing or the panelist. If you give her the host, I don't think you want to do that, but you could make her a panelist, right? It looks like.
Let me see. Promote to panelists. All right.
Okay, so join as panelist, okay.
And then let me see. Now, where are you? Oh, there you go. Now I can make you a co-host. Now you can share your screen.
And yeah, Karen, I like your comment about Nevada is not a small business friendly state. It doesn't, I mean, it seems somewhat like employer friendly as far as, privacy issues can go. And that type of, I guess, favorability around the employer versus the employee. But yeah, it doesn't seem very small business friendly.
Okay, so I have to share screen?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm new at this. Okay. So
Okay.
so share screen and then just select whichever and just go ahead and start.
Select the far left one at the top in the corner that will have a computer screen versus just a whiteboard or something.
Okay, can you see what I'm typing now?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's on Nevada sos.gov. Okay. Now business, let's start a business. Okay, let's see. So I am going to be a LLC, wait, general obtain quality sold, yes, here. And it is a LLC.
Have a good night, Karen.
Bye, Karen.
Bye-bye, you guys. Have a good night. Sorry.
Liability coven, that's it. Okay, that's the one. Okay. Now it's, okay, next. Okay. Articles start. I think I have to register.
Oh yeah, it's gonna take you through that whole process.
Yeah.
Sure. Good night too, Nellie. Did you have any questions before you go, Nellie?
0240927. do I put, I'm not an organization yet, so no, right?
Oh, yeah, you're not an organization yet, no.
So 10. Okay. County. All right. Okay. Oh, this is, let me write this down so I don't forget.
And maybe you should stop sharing your screen for a second.
Oh.
You can answer the questions, your little privacy questions.
Okay, so what do I pause share?
Yeah, say stop
Okay.
share up at the top for a second, and then you can answer your questions.
Okay, so there it is, right? Okay.
Oh, no, we can still see your screen.
You can still see it?
Yeah,
Oh, I said pause share.
okay.
Let's see.
Yeah. Hold on, I'll take over.
Okay, please.
Okay, there you go.
Now you don't see it? Okay.
Yeah, you all don't see her screen anymore, right?
Okay, what did I do? Okay, I think what did I do?
Oh, it's probably because I put my screen back up, so you might have to minimize your screen sharing. Down, if you minimize the Zoom.
Oh, okay,
You'll go
so,
back into your screen so that you're not getting over, you're probably seeing my screen now.
yes, I think that's what's going on. Okay, so let me go. Okay, so where do I leave? I don't want to leave here. Okay, why can't I minimize this? Come on. Where do I minimize this?
Up in the left-hand corner, it should pull up. Let me see if I can.
Meeting information.
Usually around here will, you see how like that, if you can find those little, I don't know if you're on a Mac or PC, but usually.
Yeah,
Zoom-
I'm in a PC, but I don't know why it's not. Come on. Oh, wait, there. Okay. There it is. Okay. You guys don't see my screen then.
Nope.
Okay, let me write this really quick before I forget the passwords and all of this before I forget.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Okay, let's see. Please, okay. Question 1. Okay. I'm observing your terms. I am not a robot. This is a required physical address state. That's weird. What am I missing here? Let's see. Okay, so now I need to get my email, activation email.
Okay, and while you're doing that, I'm just gonna go over some of these other things. So once you're in here, Nellie and Anna, and I know you're probably not listening, so I'll just be really talking to Nellie here and Cerila in the recording. But in here you might be able to renew, or if you're filing. You might have to file an annual report for an LLC. You don't do that in Arizona, but you do if you're a corporation for for a corporation, just not for an LLC. You might need a certificate of good standing. This comes up a lot if you're registering your business in other jurisdictions, or if you're working with a bank or a lender or something like that, they might want to see, or who knows what else they might want to see that certificate of good standing. And these are all documents that you'll be able to get online once your business gets registered as well. And then that's that UCC that I had mentioned, that Uniform Commercial Code. That kicks in on contracts and stuff if you don't have all of the terms in place around what, even as much as like how payments can be structured. How's it coming, Anna?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and you get to share your screen again.
Okay, let me go back to here. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, so here we go. Start a business. Domestic. Alrighty, now we can start. Wow. Okay, so name available. Okay, so balances for all LLC. We
Okay.
have to search first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and name is available, and then we hit okay. Alrighty, let's see. This is okay. This is the information that I do not need.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fast learner.
Yes. Okay, and I don't need that. Homungia. Okay. Create an agent. I'm an individual. Non-commercial, yes. Okay. Okay. Exciting.
Yeah.
It's happening.
And like you already seem so comfortable with it.
Oh, goodness. Okay, and okay, create, no.
I think it's going to ask you to scroll down on the right-hand side.
Oh, okay, let me move you there. Okay, oh, see, I see it. Okay. Okay. Sure, I don't know. Okay. Anna dot. This for all at gmail.com. Okay. And registered mailing address provided. Okay. Save.
Oh, and your phone number, I think. Oh, it's going to
Oh.
accept that. You don't have to provide it. It took it anyways.
No, this is for all. Okay, so now I select this. Select the registered agent. And then there's all the information. And then hit next. Okay. All right. Select, okay, so I am a member managed. And I am the managing member. Okay. Okay. And Las Vegas. And yes, right, ad officer.
Ad officer. Mhm.
Okay, now I go down. And there we go. I'm the only one, so you can continue.
Mhm.
Okay, so here's the fun part. Okay, so I declare to the best of my knowledge and independent jury that the information contained is correct. Okay. Yes, and then this is my name again. Oh, full name. And
While she's filling out this information, I remember the first time I filed my first company and how like it was like this shining moment. And at the same time at the teller, this was before the online register or online filings was available. This guy was filing like 5 companies all at once. And I was like, what the heck is
oh
going
no.
And I didn't understand then what I know now, which is, people will start companies and literally just hold them there so that you can like sell a company later on and be able to essentially say that it has been in business for like 4 or 5 years, especially if you're trying to register like IPOs, a publicly held company, or turn it into like a publicly held company with stock, then you can get more business credit, if you will, if you have like a business that's been registered for longer. So that's why some people will just go in and have businesses that have just been formed that do nothing, that just sit there for a while.
Wow. Okay, okay, so this is where the additional supporting documentation, I don't need anything, obviously. So this is where it jumps to $350.
Yeah, because
Oh.
see where I was like, what is this? Start filing. Well, hit next. Let's see what happens if you just hit next. Because that's where I hit that green button that start
I
filing.
can't.
Yep.
Please
Okay. so
complete
that-
the required
that's-
filings.
That's where it does. It goes into 3, it jumps. So it's going to say, so I guess interesting enough, Nevada, as Karen was saying, is really not that business friendly, right? Because in Arizona, as Cerila saw, this wouldn't have happened. Once you hit that next, it would have, and said no supporting documentation, you would have been able to review it and sign it. But and again, right, Arizona is structured differently on our licenses and our taxes and who has to have a business license and who doesn't. And so unfortunately, it's about to force you to like, go
Okay.
up. So maybe that's something you all can think about for the send people, Surya, that they are going to have a business license. In Nevada, there's no way around that, it looks like.
All right, here it is. Okay, so now percent exempt. No, that's not me. I don't have a business license exception.
Can you hit next? I just want to see if you hit next, what it would take you.
What happens? Yeah, exactly. I'm with you, right? Like what
Okay, it's letting me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so continue filling out the information. It's the same thing.
That
Member
is.
managed.
Oh, but it did charge you $350. Oh my God. So it doesn't matter if you click on the button or not.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, I did select start filing, and at that point, it's where it charges you the $350.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yes. Okay, so I guess we keep going through this, right? Okay, it's the same information. I
Let's
just keep.
scroll down a little farther, see. Okay, yeah, you're gonna have to file your officer information again, so just put in the same
The
information.
same information, okay.
Oh, you're gonna have to change the title to member managed that.
Member, oh, yes, you're right.
No, the next one
No.
down.
No,
Where
No, she's got it. She's the managing.
oh,
member.
okay. She's a manager. Okay.
No, right? It's like a tongue.
I know. I was like,
Yeah.
no.
Like the girl who's like,
What
what?
did I do wrong?
Like, literally just switching the 2 words around. Like, oh my
I
God.
know.
That is so confusing, man. I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, I had the same confusion until I learned it, and then I was like, okay, now I get it. Now I
Now
can
you
understand what that is, but I same way. I was like, what?
Okay, so add officer. And now active
Actually,
officers.
just before you click next, notice
Okay.
how there's that little pen and there's that trash can.
Uh-huh.
You don't have to worry about this, Anna, but for other people who might have multiple business partners, there are some points, in fact, my own business included, the partners that I started my business with are not the same business partners I have now. So partners have come and gone. And again, you can deal with that in the operating agreements. But might be times when you need to either edit that information, and that's where you have that little pin, or trash that information and get rid of that member out of the organization. So those are those little actions that can be taken. If you were to come in and update some of your documents, you would be, hitting that little trash button. If, for instance, you wanted to get rid of a member, or the edit button, if you just say you move and now you're living in Las Vegas, not North Las Vegas, and you just need to update the members, the address and contact.
Okay. Okay, so continue now, right? Next.
Next.
Okay. Okay, I declare okay. All right, so
I can't believe they charging $300.
that's for the business license, right?
Right? That's for the business license. That's not just for her LLC, because again, right, the business license is not necessarily the entity structure and the filing. There's
Right.
So it's gonna be actually 425, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah.
like 425 once you add the 75 for the filing, and then the privilege of having a license.
Oh, so the 75 plus the 350.
Yes.
Oh, I thought the 350, I thought the 75 was in with the 350. Okay, that's why I'm asking questions. So everybody out there, this is being recorded.
Now,
425.
here, I am the managing member, right?
Yes, yep,
Okay.
you're the managing.
Not the member, okay.
Mhm.
Now,
You could be a member, but that's not your title anywhere else, so don't.
okay.
You are a member, but for this purpose, you're the
I'm the
managing member.
managing member, oh goodness. Okay. All right, so there it is. So now I can hit next.
Yep.
All right, so now on, almost there, okay. Person doesn't accept, okay.
Yeah, that's where I was asking if you were a broker. What was the other one? You were neither one of those two, so we just said, no,
Okay.
that doesn't apply.
Okay, so we just hit continue. Filing submitted, okay. All other required filing services, I can please click the next button. Okay. All righty.
So then you're gonna hit next on here, on this one, because I'm assuming it's gonna pull up that other one at the final, on the review and done, all those filing
Okay.
fees.
All right, so name of reservation balances for all. Okay. Series, okay, not that. Oh, this is just review everything we just did, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Sure, everything's correct.
Adam Ramirez, okay, 2710. Nothing action, okay. Okay, so now I add to shopping cart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, common business. Oh, is that something I would need to fill out too? Or no? The common business registration?
Yeah, this is required test if you wish to pay for your sales and use tax and or use tax permits alongside your business entities. I actually don't know the answer to your question, because what it's saying is if you have sales and use tax, are you required to charge sales tax for services because you are a service-based industry? When you're doing bookkeeping, you're not selling Las Vegas trinkets on the
No.
strip. But I don't know I don't know the requirements for your state. How I was sort of saying, like, hey, in Navajo Nation, I have to charge as an attorney or anything. Anyone doing services or sales has to charge sales tax in Navajo Nation. But in the state of Arizona, if you're operating as an attorney or an architect or other types of service-based industries, you don't charge sales tax and you don't have to include that. So do you know for your state whether or not you have to charge sales tax or have those types of taxes included on your services? Because that's what it's asking here, is if you need to register these other tax entities in order to be collecting those taxes.
I looked it up. I mean, I just Googled it. It says, is what you selling taxable? Services in Nevada are generally not taxable. However, if the service you provide is necessary to complete the sale of a tangible personal property, you may have to deal with sales tax on your product. So
That's
basically,
probably like a broker.
yeah. So I don't think you have, I don't think you need, what you call it?
Yeah, the common business register.
Yeah, and then it says right here, with an asterisk, the red, it's a required field and it's not next to the common business registration. So I'm assuming that's a no, not a required.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's required. I think it's making it easy for you if you are going to be doing those other things. So
Okay.
again, right, like we just took your business as an example, but say Nellie is going to be selling souvenirs on the strip, then Nellie's business might need to come over here and do this common business registration because she's selling retail merchandise and that type of stuff versus, again, the service-based. So yeah, a lot of states don't charge for service-based professions or businesses on those types of taxes. So yeah, just,
Okay.
but then also, I was going to say, look over here. This is really cool because Cerila and I have been learning together through all of this, right? And seeing how the different states structure these things. So like they have these related services. It looks like you could start to try to, connect to the disadvantaged resources that might be to like MBDA, SBDC. Maybe they're going to help connect you to a service that will get you licensed as a DBE or an MBE. What it's the Meeby Weebies or whatever that is, Cerila, right?
I have no idea what that is.
Okay. Oh, it's like the woman owns.
Yeah, if you're
minority owned.
yeah, you want to have those certifications. But what I want to say, Anna, if you're a service business, so like for me, I'm going to start selling t-shirts, right? Even though I'm a service business, but once I start selling t-shirts, now I have to pay taxes on that. I have to pay sales tax. I have to go and file my TPT and Tempe. And I gotta start sending them the taxes that I collect from the individuals that buy my t-shirts. So just be mindful of that.
Okay, in the future, if I start selling books and pens, and notebooks, a special for your balances, then I would have to charge taxes on that stuff.
Yep, you have to charge sales tax.
And I would have to apply for this.
Yes.
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 Yeah. And you would want to come back and apply for that license. So like,
Okay.
yeah, like in Arizona, when I started my company, Jackrabbit, we didn't have a TPT license. And I actually held a license for like a year and a half. Shouldn't have done that because I actually got fined a bunch because I didn't realize that I needed to be doing monthly filings. And so that's been sort of an issue to deal with, but now come to find out, I really shouldn't have even had the license to begin with. I didn't need the license, and any of the work that we were doing under Jackrabbit would have never required us to have the license. So it was like one of those, wow, that was a costly lesson to learn. But that said, like Cerila was saying, if you pivot within your business, and you'll find as a business owner, typically, unless you've just got like an amazing idea or something that's already got customers generating a service or a sale that you're already on, you'll find that you're pivoting, right? You're sort of changing whatever it is that's selling as a business owner. Maybe you you know, you find that black t-shirts don't sell, but man, you sell a lot of white t-shirts, right? Or maybe it's not t-shirts, everybody wants fidget spinners. And so you pivot and you start to do different things as you grow within your business. Not necessarily what you might have thought you were going to be doing at the first, or maybe, Anna, what you learn is that you learn, you know, I can do bookkeeping and do another service like a notary service or a business registration, a statutory agent service, right? You like pick up additional services that you might provide as well. And yes, as Cerila was warning, be sure if you do start selling like retail stuff, you're collecting that sales tax. Or if you come to Navajo Nation, you're going to get sales tax on your service regardless.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They don't play around with that sales tax, boy. They will fine you immediately. Be like, where's this bill? Oh yeah, I forgot. They forgot.
They don't forget.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So this is it. So now it's pay time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Check
Okay.
out,
So
yeah,
now you
check
can
out
check
now.
out now.
Okay. So check out now.
Maybe they give you a discount.
Oh yeah. Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Right. Look
Yeah.
at that. There's my discount.
Oh my goodness, $4.25. God.
Okay. I'm gonna need to go get my credit card for this. So
Okay.
give me one information and I'm gonna stop sharing, I guess.
I was gonna say, yeah, why don't you stop sharing? Because we've pretty much gone through the process, but now you know that essentially, Cerila, what happened was it's really this, you know, this filing fee is one cost, but this license is required for them to do the filing. So let's be realistic, it's really a $425 filing cost for them in Nevada. Just so you know, for the future, we'll have to let Karen know about that, right? So that if you all do get more funding to do another class like this, you all are actually allocating more money, unfortunately, to Nevada, because they are just charging right off the bat.
Wow.
I can-
Yes.
You know what? If you think about it, you're getting a license whether you don't need it or not. It's income. It's income for the state.
It's
Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah, it's income for the state. This is a money maker, revenue generator, in that sense. So you have, yeah, there's that balance, right? That you're realizing and understanding. Exactly. And like I said, Arizona is charging different fees as well. They just don't charge it, you know, right there at that registration point. They charge it in different places.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so
You're gonna stop sharing and put your.
okay.
All right, Anna, I'm so happy for you.
Right? Exactly. Congratulations. You're going to be a business owner. Yay.
Wow, now I need to get customers. I need to get working on something else. I know, no, but this is very exciting. All right, I'm gonna go through this. I don't know if you guys want to talk about something else or we're done.
Well,
No.
do you all have any other questions or anything else? I know I'd mentioned that I would be available for any questions. Nellie, do you have any questions? Anna, any questions?
I had a question. I can't remember. Go ahead, Nelly. You go ahead. Are you still there, Nelly?
And who is Mariana Miranda? Did she just join? Who is this other person?
She left, but maybe she's back.
Oh, I was like, she just got in the chat. I'm like, where did she go? I don't see her on our screen.
Mariana?
there
Are
she
you
is.
there, Mariana?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening to the class, but it's nice. It's important to know about this thing because I am a big loss.
Mm.
Yes, but
Have any
it's fine.
questions?
No, it's fine. I know the difference between LLC and corporation and what is more convenient for me. But I listen and I think it's the LLC. Mhm.
Good to hear. Well, if you didn't catch all of the webinar, Cerila has recorded it. And Anna learned quite quickly. She just sped through the registration process. And so once you get one done, it becomes a little bit easier in the process of understanding how to register. I can't say that running the business becomes any easier, but at least the registration process becomes easier.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What was my, oh my God, I had a question and I totally spaced it. What was I gonna ask? Yes. Okay, so right now I'm still an employee and I am planning to, I'm not going to quit my job, obviously, until I see that my business is actually going. And it's good and it's got enough income for me to quit my job. So, I mean, this is totally fine, right? I mean,
Yeah, I did it. I was full-time, working full-time and had a business.
Mhm.
So you can
Okay.
do it.
okay. All right, so that was one of the things, and
I think Tadha could attest to that. You'll know when it's time to go into your business full-time. You'll just know. And it's like, you know what? For me, it was just like, for me to get it to work, I had to go in my business full-time to make it work. But before that, I was saving like crazy. Like I gave myself enough savings to get me through at least 3 years.
Holy crap, Cerila. Okay.
So I went into my
I had 3 months of a cushion.
yeah, but I went into my 401k.
Okay, yeah.
So I counted that. So, Anna, that's something you may want to think about. If you want to go into your business full time, you may want to think about, putting some savings away so to give you some cushion, at least a year to a year and a half, maybe 2. Because it takes about 3 years for a business really to start making money.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
as well.
that's the thing. I'm like, I don't know, right now, I'm barely starting. I don't even know how it's gonna go. I mean, I have to look. So yes, I don't think I'm gonna be quitting my job anytime soon. But that's good to know. I mean, 3 years, it's a little more than what I thought, but it's a good start. I mean, maybe, a year and a half, like you said.
Mhm.
yeah, it just all depends, right?
Yeah,
So,
it really depends on what your overhead costs are and how you're generating customers, what that cash flow is, because there will be ebbs and flows of cash flow through a business as well, the life cycle of it. But yeah, I'm impressed, and it just, I wouldn't say don't quit your job too soon if you don't have savings, but also, I took a leap of faith where I kind of, I didn't have 3 years, I had 3 months and I had 2 children. And it was like, I just really am going to try this and focus full time, because I was sort of like you and I didn't quite know what I was doing. I just had this idea and knew that I needed to try to accomplish it, but I didn't know how to go about doing it. And so I really needed that mental time because, I was working as a full-time attorney, and just doing that 8 hours a day was mentally exhausting on top of having 2 children. So it's like, no, I literally need this like 3 months to just be able to focus for 8 hours a day on this idea I have. And I actually cashed out my vacation. I saved up a bunch of vacation and then quit my job and made them pay out my vacation time in order to do that. I was speaking to a banker who was saying, oh, they should recommending something similar to Cerila's model, which is, put an equity into a home or put an equity into a 401k and then cash it out. I think that is a really remarkable way to go. I certainly didn't have that type of job when I was working as a civil servant. I wasn't getting 401k matches or anything like that as a civil servant. So that was a little bit difficult to do on that pay. But that said, having that cushion really helps you, and understanding that, again, you may not need a ton of money to get a bookkeeping service off the ground. And it just depends on which business, for instance, Nelly, Mariana, we haven't discussed what businesses you are, but you're going to need some money, even if it's just a little bit, to like cover some of those costs. And those are costs that you could be paying while you're sort of have this other job that you can be pulling that money from. And then, Anna, you're going to be keeping it on your books. You're going to be counting all your equity investment into your company on your books on the equity side, and paying for those business expenses until it can kind of take over. But really make sure, because I learned this also the hard way, that I wasn't charging enough to cover my actual salary cost. I was just getting by with the covering the expenses and the administration overhead, not actually figuring out how to pay myself enough to like work full time. So that was a learning curve as well about pricing and how you price your, how you value yourself and your services.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I'm taking notes on all of that stuff because, it's a process. I think to get even going started, I mean, I still have to get my, my EIN number, open a bank account, so we can, whatever little that's coming in, be accounting it for, to that and separating, making sure and clear that since the beginning, everything's separate.
Exactly. And the EIN is free, just so you know, so that doesn't cost you anything. The bank account should be free. It's all those other little things that start to add up. And for a lot of people who are looking for more money, because for instance, for a company that I have been starting, it's a manufacturing company, right? I need a lot of I need a lot of money to start up. It's not just like small money. Like one of our molds for our blocks is $4,000, and like we need 30 molds. So we're looking at like $120,000 worth of steel, literally fabricated steel. That's not a low capital or a low money business. And so you really have to think at those points, if you're looking for still small business, but more capital intensive businesses for startups. I mean, even thinking about if someone opens up a restaurant, right? You got to be able to find the equipment and have the tables and all that stuff. And so then you're looking at how do you structure your business going from someone who might just have an idea and may not have a 401k or may not have a house to invest, to pull equity from, or may not have those friends and family rounds of investment. You don't have rich aunties or rich cousins. You can go be like, hey, can you loan me a few thousand? Or I once heard on NPR this guy say, oh, I just went and borrowed $30,000 from my mom, right? Like, okay, that's nice that you could just go borrow that money. But a lot of us in our communities don't have that. And so you've got to really think about how you structure your business in order to scale it by bringing in that financing. Where is that money and that capital coming from to really push your business over and get it started?
Yeah. I totally agree with you, Tadha. And I always also would say, if you can, for those first couple of years, keep your expenses as low as possible. Because sometimes we have a tendency to be like, oh, that looks so good. I want that software. Just like, do I really need it now? Do I have any customers to even put in it? Okay, maybe not. Maybe I can wait until I get a customer so they can pay for it,
Yeah.
So.
And then the switch, even within my law firm, it's interesting, Siri, you say that, because I just signed up for a bunch of software, but I signed up for something called Clio, which is like an account, a legal management system, so I can keep my hours, because what I was doing was literally like a hand notebook, keeping my hours, right? And it's great because I can write my notes, but then I would have to spend literally like a day and a half each month inputting all the notes into my invoices for my clients. So for it's like $80 a month, I got this software where I'm like, holy crap, you just eliminated like 8 hours of work. And so it makes way more sense to have this like software for the cost that it is. I was expecting it to be more like $500 or $600 a month, which is why I'd even hesitated to look into it. And then I was like, oh gosh, it's less than 100. Like, that's a no-brainer. Why would I not make it more efficient for myself so that I can work more, right? Like, and I'm even looking at that with like time management with my children in my house, where you, Cerila, had been like, oh, my house is a mess. And I'm like, yeah, my house is a mess too, and it needs a floor mopping. And if I individually do this with trying to entertain kids, and for mothers who know what I'm speaking about, where you'll clean one room and then you walk into the other room to clean that room, and you walk back and that room you just cleaned is like so dirty. You're like, oh my gosh, how did that just happen? Can I just enjoy it for a second? But that said, right, it's that time management where it's like, well, if it takes me 8 hours to clean the house, then maybe if I only have to work for 2 or 3 to cover that, guess what? I just freed up 5 hours of my time by just being willing to hire someone to help me, who will then also get, right? That's a job for them. That's relieving some of my time. And while I'm still working a little bit more, I'm working less time than I would spending all Saturday cleaning. And so learning how to like, where does it help to streamline your company and streamline those services? Where does it make sense to hire on somebody else so that you can scale your company? Because at some point you will get to that point where you're like, oh, well, I've got clients, I can't take on more work because I don't have the ability, the capacity to take on more work right now. And then that's where you're like, do I bring somebody else in and have a new employee, or hire an assistant who can help take some of that load off so I can bring in more work and scale my company and all those things. So it's an interesting cycle running businesses.
It is. Because sometimes you get in between where you got a lot of work, but you really need assistant, but you don't got enough money to hire the assistant. So you're like in that in between kind of thing, so.
Mm-hmm. And that goes to cash flow, right? Cerila, that's all about cash flow. So you may have that work, but how is it? My company is on an accrual accounting, and Anna, you'll know exactly what we're talking about, right? Versus being on cash. So if I get a contract and it gets signed, I may not actually receive that money for months, but it's in my books as being there as like money that's owed to me as a liability in my company, but before it actually comes through, right? And I may have done the work months before I ever see the cash for it, the actual payment for it. And so, that it really helps to understand your cash flow, right? Because I'm experiencing that too, right? Where it's like, ooh, yeah, I have the space there, but if I don't have the cash flow to do it, how do I make that happen?
Yeah, and you see a lot of that in government work, because sometimes you don't get paid 120 days out, so you don't work for 3 months.
Exactly.
So
learning how to protect your company, because that's also the quickest way you can kill a company, right? Is running out of cash. And not being able to pay your employees or pay your expenses or pay those types of things, and then you're done. And that's where it can be helpful, Anna, where you still have that side job who can help support some of that cash flow in the meantime while your business is starting up. But that's also, again, where why people really should look at like things like debt or equity investments, because again, whether or not it's a friends and family round or it's a loan from a bank, those extra pushes in capital are what scale businesses. That's what helps the business to grow. And understanding that other people's money. I grew up with like the parents and the teaching that like you don't do things on credit, right? Like the first time I ever had a credit card debt was starting a business. Actually, I'd never had credit card debt before because I was a cash person. If I couldn't afford it, I did not pay for it, right? I never would have done that. And that was my upbringing. But I've literally had to undo that upbringing and undo that teaching about other people's money. Because had I not had access to credit cards at times, I would not have been able to pay for the business expenses. And I wouldn't have been able to get the business that I generated from going to those conferences that I put on a credit card, right? And so all those things sort of helped, but other people do it through debt, like bank loans, small SBA loans, other loans that are out, other loan funds that are out there. Or then there's that equity investment where you might have friends and family, you might see VC capital that comes in, typically not in Arizona or Nevada. On the East or West Coast, you'll hear about like the Silicon Valley, but that said, it is spreading, or credit unions as well, or CDFIs in those communities where they'll give those little small sort of either investments or loans. And those could be anywhere from like literally Change Labs is giving like $2,500 investments, and then up to like a VC firm I'm working with that's like up to 5 million, right, for a small business. And it just depends, right? What sort of small business are you doing? And how much money do you really need to like scale it to like bring it to something that's not just, you know, that sort of like ebb and flow where you get a contract, but then it's there. You can hire someone, because if you could hire someone, you know, to constantly be running some of that administration stuff, then maybe you can constantly be bringing in more contracts with cash flow, that type of stuff.
Yeah. And I will also consider a business line of credit if you can get it, because that's always like, I call it my like emergency fund. If I really want to go after a contract and I don't have the cash flow on hand, that's something I can just come over and pull over if possible. So there's a lot of things to think about, Anna, you know, to make your business work. You know, you just got to ask the questions and seek out the information. And you got us. We'll let you know.
Yes, I'm lucky to have you guys. So, you know, to get that push, and I really appreciate it.
Cool, cool, cool. Okay, well, Anna, well, once you get done, send me a copy of your receipt, because you know we will reimburse you. So send me a copy of your receipt, and you know, we can get that going right away.
Awesome. I will do that. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Tadha. I mean, this has been very lively. The Nevada one, I mean, I thought Utah was, you know, difficult, but I don't know.
Nevada takes the cake, right?
I know. We saved the best for last. Okay, that's why you guys had to go last. But
exactly. Yeah. I'm so glad you got to see those other ones too, Cerila, because you probably would have been like, come on, Tadha, like, where it's like, no, I swear other states are
Exactly. So this is being recorded. This will be on our website. So that way, whatever state you decide to register your business in, you got a recording to kind of walk you through the process. And, you know, you got us as well if you have any other questions. But thank you, Tadha. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Nelly, Mariana. Thank you all for joining. And we do have some webinars coming up. Next week, we will have a representative from the Pacific Southwest. She will be talking about becoming certified as a minority business enterprise. That'll be May 10th. So if you guys are looking for certification, this is one you could or should consider going after. But thank you, everyone. And you guys have a nice night. And I'll see you on May 10th.
Good night.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tadha, for helping us. Thank you, guys. And we'll be in touch. Have a good night.
Well, congratulations. Thank you.